Now once again, our lesson is on quadratic formula. So we have learned in the previous lesson solving quadratic equations by completing the squares, factoring, square root method, and now we learn how to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. So the roots of a quadratic equation are the solutions for the variable, related to the zeros of the corresponding function, related to the x-intercepts of the graph of the corresponding function. Yan. So this is the graph of a quadratic equation. It's called a parabola. So in the first graph, there are no real number x-intercepts because it didn't touch the x-axis. No real number zeros and no real number roots solutions. In the second graph, there is one real x-intercept because it touches the x-intercept once. There is one real zeros and two equal roots, one real solutions. In the third graph, there are two real x-intercepts, two real zeros, and two distinct real roots, two real solutions. Okay, because as you can see, it touches the x-axis at two times. Okay, so there are two distinct real roots for this type of quadratic equation, parabola. Now, what is the quadratic formula? The roots of the quadratic equation x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 can be found by using the quadratic formula. This is what we call the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, all we have to do is memorize this formula to solve quadratic equations that cannot be solved by factoring or square root method. It can be solved by completing the squares, but if you don't want to use completing the square, then I think this is easier to use than the completing the square. Using the quadratic formula, determine the solutions by completing the square. So what we're doing now here is to derive the quadratic formula using the quadratic equation, the general form x squared plus bx plus c. So from here, by completing this square, you can be able to derive the quadratic formula. Yan. Transpose c, negative c. Then x squared plus bx, since we want x squared to have its numerical coefficient as 1, then we factor this by a. So we have a times x squared plus b all over a x equals negative c. Yan. So what will we add here to complete the square? B over a divided by 2 is b over 2a. Square both sides. Square both sides of the equation. Ang ginawa natin dito is divide all terms by a. So kaya naging ganito. Okay? Okay, repeat. Yeah, divide all terms by a so that ayun. Yan, naging ganyan. X squared plus b all over a equals negative c over a. Then what will we add here to complete the square? B over a divided by 2 is b over 2a. Square mo is b squared over 4a squared. Yun. Add mo rin dyan. Then you factor this, x plus b over 2a squared. Ito naman, subtract b squared. 4a squared is the LCD. B squared minus 4a squared divided by a is 4a times c is 4ac. Yan. So, get the square root of both sides. Square root method. Square root of x plus b over 2a squared is x plus b over 2a equals, what is the square root of this? Positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Then, simplify. Transpose b over 2a. Magiging negative b over 2a plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Okay, we can still get the square root of that, which is also 2a. Yeah. Yun, 2a. So, since they have the same denominator, we can now combine this as negative b plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, which is now what we call the quadratic formula. Let us now solve this. X squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0 by quadratic formula. Okay, first, we need to determine the value of a, b, and c. A is 1, b is 3, c is negative 2, right? Then substitute in the formula negative 3 plus and minus 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 all over 2 times 1. Okay, PEMDAS. Simplify by PEMDAS. This is 9 plus 8, 17. 4 times negative 2 is 8. Plus, 9 plus 8 is 17 all over 2. So the solutions are, yun, negative 3 plus square root of 7 all over 2. Using your calculator, that's equivalent to 0.56. And negative 3 minus square root of 17 all over 2. That's equivalent to negative 3.56. Okay, check. Graph y equals x squared plus 3x minus 2, and note that the x-intercepts are approximately 0.56 and negative 3.56. So if you try to graph this, the graph will touch 0.56 and negative 3.56 in the x-axis. Yun, doon, no? Negative 3.56 and 0.56. Okay. Two distinct real roots. Another. Solve 2x squared minus 5x plus 2 equals 0. A is 2, b is negative 5, c is 2. Then we're now ready to solve by completing the square. Negative of negative 5 is positive 5. Plus and minus negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times 2 all over 2 times 2. Magiging positive yan. Negative 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times 2 times 2, 16 all over 4. 25 minus 16 is 9, equivalent to square root of 9 is 3. So we have 5 plus 3, 5 plus and minus 3 all over 4. Or 5 plus 3 all over 4, or 5 minus 3 all over 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 8 over 4 is, yes, yun. Dito muna. 8 over 4 is 2. 2 over 4 is 1 half. So 2 and 1 half are the solution of the quadratic equation. So if you try to graph this, 2x squared minus 5x plus 2 in the Cartesian plane, you can see that it touches 2, 0 and 1 half 0. Okay. There are two distinct real roots. Solving quadratic equations that have no real roots. Okay, wala siyang real roots. So let's solve. A is 1, B negative 5, C 7. So as you can see, nagiging negative yan. 25 minus 28 is negative 3. So pag negative yung radicals dito, therefore imaginary siya, there are no real roots. Okay? No real roots basta pag negative. So as you can see, it doesn't touch the x. Doesn't touch the x-axis. Solving quadratic equations with two equal real roots. X squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0. By quadratic formula, A is 1, B is negative 6, C is 9. Negative 6 plus and minus negative 6 quantity squared minus 4 times 1 is 9 all over 2 times 1. 6 plus 0, 36 minus 36, 0 all over 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay. This means that there are two solutions. There are two solutions which are 3 and 3. Okay, kaya lang equal sila. Equal roots. So this time, it touches the x-axis only once. Right? Two equal roots pag 0. Pag 0 yung dito. Pag 0, two equal roots. Pag negative, no real roots. Pag positive, there are two equal real roots pa rin. I mean, pag 0, two equal roots. Pag negative, imaginary, no real roots. Pag positive, 2 real roots, not necessarily equal. Let's proceed to the next. Let us determine the nature of the roots. So, in our previous lesson in quadratic formula, we can be able to determine the nature of the roots of the quadratic equation. So, from the quadratic formula, the radicand b squared minus 4ac will determine the nature of the roots. By the nature of the roots, we mean whether the equation has real roots or imaginary, if there are real roots, whether they are different or equal, and the radicand b squared minus 4ac is called the discriminant of the equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 because it discriminates among the 3 cases that can occur. The discriminant describes the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation. X equals negative b plus n minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So b squared, dito, sa radical na yan, if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, meaning positive, pag positive dito sa radicals na dyan, sa radical na yan, then there are 2 different real roots, not equal roots. And they are real. And yung graph niya touches the x-axis twice. If b squared minus 4ac equals 0, pag 0 naman dito, then there are 2 equal roots and it touches the x-axis only once. If b squared minus 4ac is less than 0 or negative, then there are no real roots. It will never touch the x-axis. Okay, ganyan, tindihan. Now, let us use the discriminant to determine the nature of the roots. Okay. Equation, discriminant, nature of roots. Number 1. Ano lang, you just use the formula b squared minus 4ac. That's the formula for discriminant. B is 6, a is 2, c is 5. So, substitute natin 6 squared minus 4 times 2 times 5. 36 minus 40, negative 4. So, pag negative, yung discriminant, what's the nature of the roots? No real roots, imaginary. It will never touch the x-axis. Next, b, x squared minus 7 equals 0. Yan, b squared minus 4ac, wala siyang b. So, 0, 4 times 1 times 7. 0 minus 4 times 1 times negative 7, positive 28. So, nature of the roots, 2 distinct real roots. Dalawang real roots yan. Not equal roots. Pero real siya. About this, A is 4, B negative 12, C is 9. So, B squared minus 4AC negative 12 squared minus 4 times 4 times 9. 144 minus... Yes. Ay, 0 siya. 144 minus 144, 0. Okay. 2 equal roots pag 0 yung discriminant. Okay. Pag 0 yung discriminant, 2 equal roots. Pag positive, 2 distinct real roots. Pag negative, no real roots. Okay, tandaan niyo yan. I repeat, negative, no real roots. Negative ang discriminant, no real roots. Pag positive, there are 2 distinct real roots. Pag 0, 2 equal roots. Now, let us determine the value of k for which equation x squared plus kx plus 4 equals 0 has a, equal roots, b, 2 distinct real roots, no real roots. So, let's start with letter A. Pag equal roots, dapat equal to 0. Okay. So, substitute what is k, what is b, k. A is 1, c is 4. So, k squared minus 16, k squared equals 16, or for k is positive, negative 4. Can be positive 4 or negative 4 para maging equal roots. Next, so the equation has equal roots when k equals 4 and k is negative 4. How about this? 2 distinct real roots. Sabihin, greater than 0. Yun, k squared minus 16 is greater than 0 kasi nasolve na natin yan. Yan. K is greater than 4 kasi get mo pa yung ano yan, square root of both sides. K is greater than 4 or k is less than negative 4. This may be written as absolute value of k is greater than 4. Paano pag no real roots? Dapat negative, less than 0.
Are you copying?
Hello. Say hello. K squared is less than 16. Get the square root of both sides. K is, the value of K is from negative 4 to 4. Or absolute value of K is less than 4. What?
Are you doing?
I'm doing something. A lesson for my students. It's maybe written as yes. Diba? Okay, for your assignment. Okay, you can screenshot this part to do your assignment. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye. See you on our next lesson.